Well, as we start 1468, a lot of cards came up. The draw was the Bologna Medical School, which is an edifice. No one's got any reasonable right to be bidding on this other than the papacy. They're going to have to pay to mature it. It wouldn't be unreasonable for the papacy to say, you know what, you can't keep this. I'm going to just start wrecking it if somebody bid on it and paid the money to mature it. So it pretty much goes to them for one. And that's actually where the problem lies, is the papal territories are so huge that so much of the infrastructure, the edifices, the cards in the game that are actual items are going to go to them. That's the problem with this deal. They paid the Brits only 3, I think, for this turn. 3 or 4. And they've got freedom. But it's basically going to be a constantly renegotiated factor. And if they build up their armies too much, that's a threat. And they've been kind of told, if you push, your empire beyond what you've got, and it's huge, if you don't give me free passage, if you don't do this, that, and the other, it's going to fall on you. Most of the other players are a little bit unhappy with this deal, more with England than with the papacy, because the English-Portuguese player has kind of screwed them over, especially since he took cash from them. But he has created peace out of this, which overall most of the people should be thankful for, in the sense that the papacy was probably going to win that war. If that card hadn't come up, I think the game would be essentially over as he hunted down players, basically. At this point, though, it enters this kind of stasis period that gives a humongous advantage to him, with a bribe that he has to continuously pay. For other people, big sum of money went for the to get the Tsar back into his control. I think he spent 6 on it, mainly bidding against the Habsburgs. They went to 5 on it. It was definitely a valuable possession, with perhaps an ability to grab a choke point here had someone who, and maybe this is what the Venetians want to do, desired that, but there's just so little hope for whatever you can do. A military solution usually doesn't get you anywhere in this game. Attempting to attack someone, well, that's going to bring their wrath down on you. Why is this gray? Well, it's stacked with black units, so as long as that's the case, it counts as black for now. But if that navy disappears, it becomes a mercenary, which is kind of interesting. It could become a free city. It's black because I fled with the prince, or it's gray because I fled with the prince there. But I think I took... No. I thought I might have taken troops with me. The Cypriot leader went back to the Athenian papal power. Basically, he's trying to pad up his thing so he can get up to 3. If he gets one more leader, he gets that. Nobody else was vaguely interested in it, and they also bought the Venetian ships. It's not worth paying your own money for ships at this point in the game. They probably would be hunted down again by anyone. And now we move on to the spring build. Now this is interesting. The rules don't cover this. They don't cover a way to determine who gets the first purchase. There's a couple of mercenaries available, and everybody's going to want them. Or nearly everyone. There may be some people are willing to not bid on them. England, for example. He feels like he's fairly safe over here and really just doesn't need them. But most of the other players, the Mamluks, they want 2 of them. How am I going to determine this? I see 2 ways. One would be to use player order, another would be to just dice for it. I think dicing for it's probably the fairest. The player order already affects significant things. the person who would have gotten both of them this way anyway, the Komnenids, ended up getting both. Or maybe it would have been pulsed or whatever, but they ended up getting both of them. They have a large army here. That's going to cost them to maintain. That's kind of the problem. They don't have people to assign them to who can kind of make money for them. Keep them alive and keep them out of their own stash of cash. So they could have bought him over here, say in Burgundy, helped him buy one. He's got some regular French troops with him, or give the Dauphin money for an additional troop to support. But it feels like if I'm going to do anything with them, I'm going to need them here. And I might go caravan raiding, but that's going to piss the papacy off if I start attacking them. And that's kind of the problem. Maybe there's just no money for troops in the empires either. They don't have the money to send an army moving. But I'm thinking kind of maybe, well, we can move against the Habsburgs, you know. But in a sense, that kind of weakens the position of people in terms of being able to eventually take the Pope down. And it's kind of this troubling situation where we don't see a way out of a terrible position. None of the non-players are going to do anything, so we go to the spring naval moves. I don't think there's much there. The English refurbished their boats. Probably get those moving. But other than that, I'm done now. 1, 2, 3, 4 into Portugal. Further defenses for Portugal. The difficulty with that is that this is north of the line, so I'm probably going to want to gain control of something within the Mediterranean, so I don't have to take those damn losses. I have no more English ships up here in the Black or Euxine Sea, which has kind of dropped it to there's only two routes out. There's the Papal route or the Habsburg route. So, pushing forward, actually through the taxes, the naval movement. Not a lot happening. We got the Teutonic Knights here, and I'm not going to cover every card that comes up. Just key interesting ones. This one bumped him up to 3. I probably wouldn't have mentioned that, except that I wanted to come and talk about an idea that I had, or a thought that I had here. One thing that becomes clear in this game. Early in the game, there's a certain balance, right? The big taxation means that all the powers are kind of vaguely equal. But as the game progresses to where the trade routes become more and more interesting, the center of balance in the game, for whatever reason, shifts to the east. Now, this may switch with the New World, but for the most part, whichever power controls the territory through which the islands or the Ottoman Empire, the choke point here, going from east to west, those are the things that become capable of producing some income. You see the papacy is still pulling in good income. Now, they're just all over the place catching money. But someone like France or England, if they don't get themselves established as a naval power with some possessions in the Mediterranean, they're cut out of the rest of the income. Well, does that mean the player is screwed? No, but their imperial power becomes kind of weakened. Whereas it's very hard, except by taking someone out, to cut out the Ottomans or even the papacy or the Habsburgs or Spain. They all have sort of this natural position on the board that more or less determines that they're going to collect some taxes just from property that they don't have to put troops in, that nobody else has bothered to do so, that shipping's going through. Now, obviously, somebody can throw their own galleys or whatever. So whoever gets the naval control decides what that path is going to be. But it is a big shift in the game away from the West. And it seems a little actually ahistorical in the sense that this is the period when, although there's great wealth in this area, it is already beginning to become more centered westward at this point in the world history. It's maybe the century before this where Italy reaches its golden era. Well, this game kind of turns that on the head, taking a period that's the decline of the Italian era. It's not the decline of the Ottoman era, though, I'll tell you that much. The Ottomans do become very, very wealthy in this period, and the Habsburgs do become somewhat important. So what you may see is actually that this is the struggle between Italy and the Ottomans and the Habsburgs for who controls the proper paths through. But it's very clear, France and England, not great initial choices. If you can, you know, whatever empire you get to choose to be part of, those are kind of ancillary choices, which is why we saw France wasn't picked in the beginning of the game. England, well, they start off with a bunch of boats and have an opportunity to push their way into the Med a little earlier. All right, we're on the advance of immature projects. See who can fund them, but the empires are kind of threadbare now. You know, like the Habsburgs here, you got enough money to push one thing forward. Unfortunately, the thing I want to push forward, the Transylvanian mines, I don't have troops in. I don't own that. In fact, there's not a city there, so I'm not even sure if I can own it. I guess I could station troops there and pay a maintenance cost on them, and that might qualify. Again, the rules are very unclear on a lot of things, and I make them even more unclear by not trying to puzzle them out. You know, it's funny. I know very few of you are watching this game at this point. And it's a shame because it's an exciting game, and it's a very interesting design. But I saw Kev Hipshot talking about, where is it, A Most Dangerous Time, that he was unable to get that played, basically because he tried to nail down the rules. And I remember having kind of coming to that moment where, like with this game, I said, you know, the hell with it, I can't get these rules. I'm not going to be able to nail them down. And then having a better time than I have with most games that nail down the rules, just because, yeah, you know, fuck it, I'll make them up as I go. And that's why I'm enjoying this. That's why I enjoy Europa Universalis. Maybe that's what I enjoy in all the Azure Wish games. Pax Britannica, a lot of the games that I really love, they don't really hammer the rules out real well. My little brain is incapable of probably memorizing and learning a very perfect rule set of any complexity. You know, I can learn Titan, I can learn Britannia, but you get me to these more complex games and it's very hard for me to get everything right. I'm kind of shocked that, for example, I like the OCS system for a lot of reasons that I'm shocked, but I really do. It all, you know, I may screw things up in it, but it feels like at least what I make up for or seems to be the right choices always. If I do bother to look them up, I'm not disappointed. But that gives kind of a feel about how I approach things in a lot of ways. It's just, damn, man, you know, it's not worth trying to nail the game down perfectly. It's a game. You know, this is not something you're doing for your living. It's not something that lives are depending on. And you can probably enjoy it at least as much without putting all that effort in. Now, of course, if you want to be the Twilight Struggle champion, you'd better know everything there is there. But, you know, if your group gets a couple of rules wrong, who the hell cares? As the supply lines start stretching further and further westward, and there's also lines running through here, it becomes difficult for this overland route to be done in duplicate by everyone. Right now, basically, the huge combination that is the papacy has a big advantage. They have a lot more counters than anyone else. So they can supply to places that they wouldn't otherwise be getting supplies. The French and the Habsburgs, though, have a problem. And they had sort of this double line running out here, but now, with the French not really filling it, but kind of doubling up in certain places, now it's come to where they actually absolutely have to work together. At one point, the Habsburgs could operate without French help. Now the French are going to get more, they're going to end up buying, they don't have many, they have one more. The Habsburgs are out of caravans. It's going to be very tough. For example, I can't reach the Paris. There's the National Library that's built there. I can't reach that. We've got to start not doubling up in places. So for example, I could not double up here. And then, let's see, I get as far as Burgundy. Yeah, if I go to Orleans, I can make it. Because this city actually touches into the Duchy of Burgundy, so I can trace through that. I'm also able to trace through the mountains here in the Dauphiné. And then here, Bourbon and Orleans, I can trace through both of them. Creates less cash for the nation. And in fact, some of that cash is just going to be dropping in random places. Although, if I march troops here into Bourbon instead of Anjou, I end up with the same kind of, I end up with cash going into the French coffers, which is important because I need that to buy my last caravan, some troops, boats, whatever it is that I want to do with my French. I may end up needing, this is going to be hard to get to. I've pretty much got this line stretched as far as it can between these two empires working together. Could England, though, maybe run something up from Paris? Now Paris does not have its own man. I don't have a caravan to do this, but if England threw a caravan here, a boat won't work because it can't do the overland part, but if England threw a caravan here and another caravan, say in Bruges, and maybe some troops in Bruges, they would collect some income off of setting up that supply line. One which isn't useful right now. These textile guilds, they need a loom. Now, I don't know if there are loom cards or not. I know at one point I thought there weren't some kind of card, maybe a loom, and then discovered some. I think there are cards that activate a loom. It's not just automatically coming from here. I remember being kind of fuzzy about that, though, but I think that's like a mine in terms of producing something. You have to draw the card for that to work, which means this is worthless until that shows up or something like it, wherever else they may be. So that's, you know, we're starting to see where a lot more cooperation has to be taken in order to make more money. So, you know, the Habsburgs want to get this mine working. They want to get it, well, obviously they want it Vienna, but they want to get it to Nuremberg. Now, these aren't taxable. They're not edifices. That's a guild, but they do, you know, help by bringing transport going through the empire to bring some cash through. And right now we've got kind of this peaceful situation again. Venice has pulled back to here. We don't know what they're going to do. The Comnenid has moved up here. This is the valuable region. Well, sort of. If I have another caravan available, and I have one right here, I can push into here and do an all land route from there. I don't know how much value that is for the papacy, Ottoman, Spanish conglomerate, but it does, you know, provide an alternative in case things are broken. Anyway, I guess now we go to the fall card because I didn't feel like doing any attacks there. And we got a princess. With a dowry, the Netherlands, all 3 cities of Flanders become satellites of that person. Now, what's interesting there, Flanders is Ghent, that is imperial taken. These 2 are not, but that becomes immediately interesting to the English to pick this up. Now, the English, the Prince of Portugal, has not yet reached status 3. Other people might reach status 3, but the problem for them is nobody's going to commit caravans there unless they own it. Looks to me like all the trade routes are filled out. I definitely made mistakes and then corrected them. I don't know how correct I got it all. But, you know, we've got the metal mine running here. The French Habsburg deal is not as equitable as I thought. The Habsburgs had to pay $2 to get their 2 things transported from here, a slave and a silk. The silk for the bank, the slave for other things. Because remember, the Comnenians don't need silk, they need spice. So they're paying the papacy for that. They ended up having to pay 3 for what they needed, which was essentially 3 spice. Same deal for Venice. Hey, you're not doing too well. I'm not sure, though, that I'm going to continue that because I feel like the papacy's running below in money, especially what the Habsburgs seem to be pulling in. It really feels to me like the Brits are in trouble here, even with the money they're getting off the papacy. But this is the best they could do. They were not in a good position after the battles started up. Now I've just got to suck a lot of money into the papacy's treasuries, which means, of course, they become more and more unassailable and more dangerous if this card is played. Who will end up controlling them? Oh, the princess went over here to the Comnenid. Fairly useless there. He just wants it so that if he dies, he gets to come back again. He's actually got a big pile of cash coming to him, which is why he's kind of dangerous. So, I mean, I'm just not feeling like the guy who inherited the greatest empire or control of it is really able to take tremendous advantage. And that's part of what this whole deal was about in terms of that card. But England's not getting their share out of what the rest of the world is getting. I think the papacy is getting, they're barely squeaking by, but the Habsburgs and the French aligned forces, which are, of course, the Duke of Milan and the Comnenid, they feel like they're doing quite well. And actually, to tell you the truth, this guy over here, the ex-Venice leader, is piling up cash because he has these edifices. The papacy may wish to just try to seize them. He may be sick of not coming in ahead. But if he does seize them, he's got to give more props to the English, because those are definitely papal-controlled territories. If he loses the papacy, he loses really everything. Everything he has. On his bright side, well, he has this. But whatever he pays for, whatever he does, he owes a cut to the English for the rest of the game. That's the scary thing. The good thing, though, is that the English can't really force him to give him half. Half is probably too much. And yeah, they're getting free transport as well, but that's not much. That only gets them to 3 gold. Players who are sort of nibbling on the edges of the existence. So, for example, the Mamluks, there were a couple of coins sitting here. I just walked up and went and took them. I got half. I don't have any troops, but essentially I'm invited in to be the governor there. That was 1, 2, 3. I can actually make it here. What the hell? Let's take another buck there. Just some free money that's kicking around that I can get by being a free agent, essentially. Now, somewhat worse than that is this. Venice can't just walk in and take that money from the Slavs, and he has no troops. But he does have the Muscovite prince. He's going to go in and try to arrest that Slav. Now, that's going to piss off whoever has him. The Habsburgs. They may go after Venice after this. Not that this is terribly valuable. Yeah. Oh, no. We gotta roll to hits. Arrest is not just a die roll in this. So I've got 3 units. That gives me like 6 dice. And 1 through 3 is hit. I got 1 hit. I arrest him. I don't know where he is, but he's captive. And all this money that's kicking around, well, it's 16 bucks. I'm going to get to pull 8 of it into the Muscovite Prince. He's in charge there. He outranks me. But, you know, it's the best I can do. He can at least repair his units or something. Action was not a pleasant one. The Duke of Milan is leading a force, including the Hungarian lord. 4 strength points, laid siege to Venice there. And they're slowly reducing it. It looks like they're going to win over time. They're going to have to pay a lot of money to keep this siege up over the winter through the depletion segment and such not. And this actually leaves the capital of the Habsburg Empire open, which could be very risky. I don't know what the Pope thinks he's doing down there. He didn't pay to recover that troop. He probably didn't pay to maintain the extra unit either, though. So... whatever. That leads us to the Komnenids, who actually have a pretty decent sized force themselves. And gosh, I can just march down there and attack and help my buddy Venice out. And you know, there comes a point where this guy is kind of, by going on this revenge track, he may have put his existence at peril as a power, in the sense that the Habsburgs are now at risk. Now, he can always throw money in, I guess. No, not really. Yeah, it's going to be tough to build forces there. The only real advantage he has is he goes kind of late. But the French could march over and take him. Yeah, that was definitely a mistake. So, does he have any other leaders here? He has the Angevin ruler of Sicily. That's Anjou? Yeah. See if we can get Anjou up there. Probably not, no. Got the Borgia, the Duke of Genoa. That's a good choice. Okay, so the Duke of Genoa could march up 1, 5, get him in range. Well, here's what I can do. I can essentially teleport the Emperor down here. He's not teleporting, but he can move. Give me the troop, not the... Yeah, this is... The whole game is this way with the components, so this will come out. I mean, he can definitely get down there. So this comes out 4, 5, and he can move his troops up here. And Genoa is more important to move up to Milan, defend that. What about the Angevines? I don't see any reason to be in Marseille, so I'll push more and more force towards, you know, where my land is. Now the question is, do the Komnenids want to go after Milan? He's got 4 units that would be faced in a field battle. And I think they're all half strength. They took a lot of losses there. Which means he'd only have 4 dice, whereas I'd have 6. That's appealing. I'm going to go with that. See what else the froggies have here. A lot of stuff they can't really do much with. I could, of course, make an attack with the French. That's 4. I could gather Burgundy and the Dauphin. I think I'm going to launch a massive attack on the Habsburgs and try to take them out. Successful battles driving the Duke of Milan's forces. He's down to just like 1 strength point. That's under the Hungarians, along with all that money. This stack is really confused because there's like 2 non-player, player control, but magnates that aren't them under there, each with money and troops. They have a siege of whatever that is, Salzburg, underway. Left Paris somewhat undefended. The Pope can't strike it, but we're getting to chaos again, right? It's like the dance started up again. Somebody did something and everybody's getting pissed. And, well, Venice is pretty happy with the French. They may end up being able to march in and do something exciting because of this. And now we go to the winter card, which is going to be the Little Ice Age. This is a disaster, so the game can start ending now. Solar sunspots causing global cool temperature. The season is treated as if it is winter, even if it is not. This means only winter depletions is performed. Well, it's just a really bad winter, so I'll be taking the winter depletions, and then at the end of the game, at the end of the turn, there is a 1 in 36 chance, because you roll 2d6 and add 1, that the game will end here. And that means now every turn there's a chance the game ends, which is kind of a, you know, hey, better get the move on, right? I find it kind of amusing. Just an aside, I was loading up another video. Some of these games, this one, definitely my decision on this one was based on a bribe, like I mentioned early on from User Local, but it also had a decent amount of votes. And I'm always kind of shocked when I see something that is up there in votes and nobody seems to watch. I'm especially shocked in this case because I think this is a particularly interesting game. I just really do. You know, I can see, I don't know, there's a lot, but very little interest on this one. Sometimes I remember some of the others. It always kind of surprises me. Now, I understand some things like Twilight Struggle or War of the Ring or whatever are just going to get a huge amount of views, regardless of of the people who view my videos. But I have the feeling there are some people who have kind of, you know, left behind and decided, I don't like that shit anymore. I don't want to watch his stuff anymore. I don't really care. And yeah, it's just kind of funny. I mean, I see maybe 20 views of some of these or whatever. Maybe they got all they wanted out of it, but I don't know. I guess I shouldn't grouse. It's just, it's funny to me to see when something does have a lot of votes and it doesn't get the kind of view response that I expected out of it. Okay, as we do 1469, we're moving into that. The card for the turn with this Mamluk Engineer gives you hits on 1 or 2 if you're sieging a city. Think if you're either side, attacker or defender. That's a powerful advantage. The papacy managed to pick it up, well, the Athenian managed to pick it up for only $3, which is a pretty good deal. There were a couple of mercenaries available. Duke of Milan, under him, they managed to buy one, and I think the other one ended up over in Venice. So that's kind of one alliance here now. The Pope basically said to the English, look, this kind of disruption is just bad news. I know you don't want me expanding, but let me try to knock players out. If we can get rid of some players, there may be less of an attempt to scrabble to try to combine France and the Habsburgs or whatever. We need this to end. And the English gave him an okay on that, so he built up a couple more units. Some extra strength here and here. We don't know how this is all going to end, though. There's nothing for the non-players to do, so we're going to go in terms of building stuff. I don't know if there's anything left. I think everything's been bought. So we go to the naval move, and there really isn't much there. The papacy has positioned themselves. The English don't want to leave the sea area. In terms of taxes, there's no valuable places that aren't occupied by navies that could be. So we push to the next card. Uh-oh, sweating sickness. 1 die for each CMRL card. On a 1, the card's dead unless it has heirs surviving. And this adds 1 now. So now we have a +2 to the die roll. On a 11 or higher, we're going to end the game on the end of this turn. And that's one of the reasons for this chaos beginning here, is this fear, hey, the game's going to end. How much money do we each have? And right now, the big money, wow. So the papacy paid $4 this time to the English, and the English are actually not doing too poorly. The Habsburgs are in the lead here. So if things were to end magically right now, that may or may not happen. The Habsburg is ruled by the Duke of Milan. He does have an heir, so he could hold on to a bit of that fortune. Of course, the money for this turn is guaranteed to happen. Well, let's see what this disaster does. It wasn't too bad, actually. We had the Cypriot ruler who's dead. He's out of the game, actually. I got to figure out some place to put him. To remind me that I can't bid on him, I'm going to throw him over here so that he doesn't bug me. Hopefully I won't lose him. We lost the Dauphin and the Duke of Anjou, both, which caused some issues. The Dauphin dying actually created some extra treasure for France. They can loot his money, so they get half of it. But Anjou dying left troops and money sitting here in Genoa, which he has no power over, and no one can really take them. Now it's a free city again, with the Dodge back here not in control, most notably. So that gives us that. And now we're up to summer taxes. There's not going to be a lot of money, but it's beginning to grow. University of Vienna produces 1. Now this I don't think can go in Salzburg because it's under siege. So I'm going to leave it here in Vienna because I can't transport it back. And I'll put that under this marker. That actually makes it a more valuable place. It'll get sucked in if that siege ends, but right now it can't. Lyon and the National Library will be a couple of bucks for France. They're both held by French troops or otherwise. And these two are going to be bucks going into the papal coffers. Oops. All right. Now we're to advancing immature projects. And this guy got kind of bumped. I had a problem with him, but I could have sailed out there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not sure if you advance them before or if they have to just sit out there. I think what happens is you advance them before, and once it reaches here, if you sail out, you get the chance to roll. So that's what we're going to do here. You got lucky you didn't lose the almanac. So let me see what's advancing and what's not. None of it's going to be too excited. Like this is Bologna. That's going to be paid for out of the papal treasuries without a problem. And I think the English have most of the money for that exploration. The question, is that worth doing? When I have a pile of money and I'm kind of in the lead, yeah, I'm not really in the lead. These guys are, and that money's going to get transferred. So I just don't know what's going on. I want to be able to pad things so that I have a chance to do this. And if I can create some huge disruption on the papacy because they decide it's not equitable how much they're paying anymore, hey, whatever. You know, but I think it's worth it. I don't think the chance of it ending this turn is high. Even, I don't know what the chance of me getting a successful, you know, plantation or whatever will be. But we'll see. Partway through the big summer movement phase, and nobody's even dealing with the caravans at this point. They're just kind of crazy. Too much is happening. We've got an empire destroyed. The French, and yeah, we got them there, managed to capture and kill the Habsburg Empire. And he's in the capital, so Habsburg is now part of France. Okay. The Habsburg allies, though, swarm in and lay siege. Excuse me. To no effect. Then Venice moves in and attacks the Pope with a siege. That was a low odds attack. But his feeling is, I've got almost no chance. If I can eliminate the papacy, get rid of this unholy alliance here, just make things really ugly. Because with the English holding their card, the papacy becomes kind of dangerous for anyone to take. Of course, the Portuguese English, he could throw the English off and become the Pope, which is clearly a much more powerful position. But that's not really... that's dangerous, because then you're cutting your ties to one of the few countries that remains. But it's a very weak country comparatively. Now we're on what the papal reaction is going to be. That has to come now. And I got no idea. As it's hard to siege somebody who's in a port. The Pope slipped away. He's up there now in Venice. He's gathered with some other forces under the Medici. I had kicking around down here. Hey, they're great. They could pick up the 2 armies that I had in Bologna, and they moved them into place. I don't want to go straight to battle with Venice. There's nothing of value here, and with 3 armies, I'm not going to kill him very easily. So I'm waiting for an opportunity to arise. Likewise, though, I have this, which I may want to wreck. I hate coming out of here. But 1, 2, 3, 4. If I wreck Moldavia, the supply chain is gone for the Habsburgs and the French. And I think that does me a lot of good, although I'm not going to be collecting the cash then. And that's the problem with this, is I don't have a leader. You know what I can do? I'll leave these here. I pulled the Teutonic Knight out of here and ran him all over hell and creation. 2, 3, 4. He'll pick up a unit. Wallachia is sufficient as well. We'll move into there. Just have to kill this caravan, basically. And I've got this Albanian prince who isn't doing anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. That'll improve my odds of getting 1 or 2 hits. I want to break that supply chain so that I can guarantee that if any money goes, it comes through me. And this way, by keeping this, I'm also going to capture the cash for myself, which is an appealing factor since the Portuguese English have more money than me now. Stupid me. I really wanted to hit here. This was not a good answer. Well, this wouldn't be either because they could retreat here. They managed to retreat into the Alps. I would have had to destroy them to actually succeed in breaking the chain. Crap. Alright, well, we're on our fall card. Need to see what we're getting here. Despot of Moria. You know, another 1-point leader. Some people may be interested in this. In particular, who? Who might want this? The only person I think who could make any use out of it is the English. I think they'll pass on it. See, the problem is getting their prince up to level 3 might be worth $1 here. Yeah, why not? They're not going to get it yet, but a buck here and a buck later. And another buck later, you know. All right, we're going to be at the trade routes, and I'll put the Morian Lord there. He'll have a chance. He doesn't have anywhere to run, you know. I'm not buying him. The hell with that. He's going in the discard pile. After what Venice pulled here, the papacy said, look, $2 each for your properties. You want them serviced $2 each. Well, and that was for these two. They threw the bank in for free. So 4 out of $9 in profit went directly into the papal treasury. In addition to at least one went through the Dardanelles. Lots and lots of money is going to the papacy. Just all the hordes here. This big pile, though, is just uncontrolled money. Just kicking around. Once again, we were out of coins. I had to make change a couple of times, but it's working okay with the dimes and pennies combined. But actually, all the other trade happened. Notably, and most amusingly to me, the Habsburgs, while the Duke of Milan, they're not really Habsburgs anymore. The Duke of Milan's commercial enterprise is quite wealthy. Paid just $1 each to use the French Habsburg connection to the mine and to here. He also serviced his bank, but what he did not service was the University of Vienna. That would have required paying $1 to the papacy and $1 to the Comnenids, and that was just too much to leave up in other people's hands for that. So we're going to be doing the storms in a moment, but I gotta deal with all these coins on the board right now. And you can see surprisingly large amounts of money are beginning to collect up on a couple of the players' holdings. And even worse, France now has become a wealthy nation. The trade routes, all the cash that was collected up in the Habsburg territory, some of it from taxation, some of it moving through from this turn, it's now become very wealthy with that additional territory. Again, France is usually at a disadvantage, but the simple fact that they add the Habsburgs, who are not at a terrible disadvantage, have a nice route going through. By the way, I positioned this guy wrong. He had been here. That wouldn't have worked, but here did. And that was a legitimate retreat as well. Had I attacked here, there's still... Yeah, like I said, there could have been a retreat here and there would have been a unit here. So there was really no way, except by maybe attacking 2 of the units at once, which I was kind of considering, but ended up not doing. Humongous wealth over on the papacy. They're going to have to make a decision, you know. How much of your money do you share with the English? Because if it ain't enough, we're going to break your hold on them. We're going to take it away from you. And then what? I don't know. We're down to what? 3 empires. One of them's England. Not ready to go to the winter depletions phase, but in the fall movement, the siege continued. The Pope spread out, grabbing some taxes, essentially, some of it with the Medici taxes, by which I mean grabbing unoccupied cities that had cash in them. Our Mamluk leader ran up here and got himself another $1. The Comnenid got it. So this is the crazy thing. Venice is just being the most asinine fellow on the board. He marched up and attacked the Comnenids. Now, they had been his ally just moments before. He's just pissing everyone off. Maybe that was to somehow appease the papacy. I don't know. But the largest reason is this is a good moneymaker, and this is actually his Tsar of Muscovy's position. So he wants to get back there and start hoarding in the little bit of money that he can there. Unfortunately, he can't get it for himself, whereas the Comnenid was getting it for himself. Another thing, the papal troops marched up. They killed another caravan. I think they've, well, no, the Venetians here managed to kill one. There was a French caravan here, which I defended to give me extra losses to take. And then another one got killed over here. And then here we had a retreat of this French caravan. So, you know, we're trying to disrupt the ability there, but it's not going to be easy. The time when you can do that is in the summer movement phase. Before I do the depletions, I'm going to pay them off, assuming some people might lose money here. No, I can't roll end of game for that. I wanted to roll it live, and I'm probably not going to do it now. I'll roll it, I just probably won't do it on camera. I guess I will. The card that came up, I forgot to mention, it was the War of the Roses, and someone bought it. Damn Venetians bought it. A bunch of people put a bit of one on it, including the English. It's not liable to do much. What it does is it's a revolt, so it'll be two leaderless English armies convert to the color of your choice. Well, most of the players, and Venice in particular, have no use for this thing, but maybe if it does become valuable, they can sell it off to someone at a profit. I don't know why they bid on it, but they did. Some heavy costs came from some of the players just to maintain forces, and a particular cost was here where the French are besieged, so they don't have cash in Salzburg. And all the cash that had been there got sucked into France, and now, you know, their troops are starting to die on their own out there. Uh-oh. Let's put this here, Trebizond. This guy I could have moved, and I didn't. So I'm going to push him there, because otherwise he'd take a hit. But this is the end of the turn roll, or end of the game roll. And if the game doesn't end, I have to deal out a whole bunch of new cards for the next line here, the 1470s. The game's not ending, so we'll send this one up. No wrap yet. And keep going. You know, it's a fairly long game. So's Lords of the Sierra Madre, really. There comes a point, maybe in these games, where you can... It's very easy to tell some people who aren't going to win. And there does come a point, though, sometimes when one person is clearly running away with one of these games, and then you can call it. I don't feel like that's the case here, mainly because of the English ability to destroy the papacy and hand it to someone else. And likewise, there's a significant, well, yeah, it will go to someone else because this disaligns him from white if it gets played. Likewise, there's, you know, this kind of long period. The chance of the game ending on any given turn is, what, 1 in 12 now, right? So chances are it will end in the next period. One thing you can do if you're playing, if you wanted to play this out till 1499 instead of 1479, yet use the random die roll, is you can push that number up a little bit. Instead of on a, you know, needing a 13, maybe you need a 15 or 16 or something. You don't want to push it too high or you force it to go to 1499. And if I recall correctly, if you know the game's going to end, things can get kind of a little bit weird with that. I remember that being a problem also in Lords of the Sierra Madre. If you make it to the last turn, it's kind of a problem, but that's seldom the case. And in this, it would be almost impossible with 13 roll. But of course, you can tweak the roll to make the game as long as you like. And I'm not sure there's a terrible reason why you couldn't push it a little bit past, say, into the next decade. You know, 1492 is when Columbus discovers America. Anything prior, anything in Europe in that period Well, until you get kind of the Reformation, although there are cards that can handle that. We had a Luther card come out. So there is stuff from a period that comes a little later. I don't know if it's terribly bad to say, hey, let's play another 10 years, more than the 1499. I think you could go to 1509 without a problem. I think you start going beyond that, though, and you're really stretching the credulity of the game. The New World starts becoming way too important, and I don't think the way the game is settled, it actually covers that very well. The later, some later phase of the New World exploration. I think it works well for some projected early phase that could happen, or some early phase, or for the actual early phase if you get that far, and that's what happens. Anyway, this one's going up. That means it's bedtime for some people, right? All right.